All right, welcome back to another week. We're just gonna get started here slowly. One thing I want to test is my new chat box, which, testing, hello, I think should be working. Maybe not, I don't actually know if that, oh wait, is it? I think it's there, it's just really small. Let me, that bigger. Glenford Williams, hey, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. We will get started in one moment. I just need to, yeah, my chat box is definitely there. It's just, oh, what? Sorry, I just messed up a lot of my setup. Chat box. I'll say some more stuff in the chat just to test chat. Okay, it still feels a little bit small to me. Test chat. But I guess it's kind of working. It seems a little bit lightly colored, but nice. Yeah, today we're going to be continuing with this OS development project that I've been working on for the past 8 weeks now or something like that. The goal is just to have fun with OS development and do a bit of hacking on this open source operating system that already exists. And I'm kind of trying to make it my own. I'm not an expert. I'm just a student, not literally, but figuratively. And yeah, so I just like to work on this stuff. So anyway, quickly just to recap. So at a very high level, we've been working on the build system because that's kind of fundamental. At least I consider that to be pretty fundamental. I don't really, I don't see myself being comfortable developing on this code base without having kind of a clean, nice build system in place. And that hasn't been the case. That wasn't the case with the existing project. And I've been trying to fix that, make it better, specifically with an out of tree build. It's super basic, but that's just, that to me is pretty essential. And I've just been trying to do that. An out of tree build is one where you have a build directory and then you have all your object files in that build directory separated from your source code directory. And I've gotten it to a pretty good state so far. So all of the kernel object files are being built into this build directory, as well as the primary outputs of the build system. And so we have the kernel executable, we have the init code blob for bootstrapping user space. We have some other files that I don't actually know really what they are. And ultimately they get built into this xv6.img, which is what we pass to Quemu somewhere here. Quemu system, blah, 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 blah. And we pass it this image. So that's an overview of the build system. And what another aspiration that I have for this project is to do things in a kind of professional way to the best of my ability. And part of what that means for me is taking care of the Git history or the version control history. Because if I were in like a workplace setting or something like that, I mean, not all workplaces operate like this, but certain workplaces do, where in order to make my changes reviewable, it would be very helpful to prepare a good Git history. And to me, this is part of being a pro systems programmer. Like, not only are you able to write the code and it runs fast, and you're doing all the low-level stuff, but you're also able to work effectively as a software engineer with other kinds of software engineering skills, like dealing with the version control and making your code as reviewable as possible for your colleagues or your teammates or whatever. So that's what I'm kind of focusing on right now. I have this branch that I worked on a few streams ago, but it was really messy because I didn't know what was going on. And I was really just hacking at it and doing things left and right. And what I would like to do, assuming it's not an insane amount of effort, is to actually prepare the branch in a more proper way, which means every commit does one thing. Ideally, the diff is pretty minimal and doesn't contain a lot of irrelevant new lines or stuff like that. The ordering of the commits is logical and makes sense. Hey, R. Cheleg, greetings from Brazil. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining in. Very glad to have you. One thing I will share is a link to my Discord. If I can do that quickly, invite people, invite link, generate a new link. I will just, yeah, I'm just going to post this in the chat in case you're interested in joining my Discord. It's very casual. It's just kind of like a group chat. If you want to keep in touch, I would love to talk with you and meet you there. But thanks for watching. So yeah. So right, we're working on the Git history, and that's kind of what I want to show you. I think, because I don't think a lot of, like very few other people I've seen that do this kind of content about systems programming and stuff actually touch on the topic of working with Git. And that's something I feel is missing. And so that's what I did last time. That's what I'm going to continue to do this time. So with that out of the way, and also just a final recap, that's what we started on last stream. I mean, it took a little bit. Last stream was a bit chaotic because I was just kind of getting back from a trip, and I kind of forgot how everything works here. But I managed to start reworking the branch, and I have produced the start of what I would call a clean and reviewable branch, which is over here on this redo branch. And just a couple thoughts on that. Like this is how I learned to do this. These are the conventions that I'm familiar with. Namely, if you have small little cleanup things, it's best, if you can, to include them in separate commits, of course, but also order them early in the branch so that the reviewer can just kind of like quickly take a look at them, but then they get out of the way. And so those don't interfere with the review of the rest of the branch. So that's like a little bit of what I have here. I had some random cleanups that I just happened to do during this whole messy development process. And they were kind of baked in a weird way into the branch, but now they're isolated. I'm also activating my 20-minute break timer, which has become kind of a thing that I do. Every 20 minutes, we take a 20-second break and just stand up and stretch and whatever. Anyway, those are just a few notes about what I was doing last time. And then I started to actually kind of get into the weeds and rework things. And I was really extracting out chunks of the branch and isolating them into separate commits and working through merge conflicts and rebase conflicts. And we will continue to do that this time because now we're actually ready, I think, to do a bit more serious refactoring. So the current state of the art, Samir, hey, welcome. Nice to have you. Hope you're having a great day. And just as a check, is my chat thing working? I guess the chats do appear. They do seem extremely dark to me, which I am a little bit bothered by. I kind of want to fix that if there's any way I can. I'm gonna take 10 seconds to go into Streamlabs and see if I can change the theme on the chat thing. Widgets, chat box, clean, boxed, Twitch. I'll try the Twitch theme. Yo, oh, Lizard, yeah, what's up? Yo, we are doing, we're continuing with the main topics from last time. Okay, I don't know. I was just messing with this, with my new little like chat plugin, which adds the chat into the stream. But yeah, we are diving in. Let's dive in. And so, so far I have my branch, and it has a couple of these cleaned up, isolated commits, and then it has this huge, messy commit that does everything else with this build system refactor, which is a couple things. And so I moved a bunch of files. I guess it's not super clear. I moved a bunch of files into this kern directory. I added, this emulator.make, but this immediately looks, oh wait, no, it's my, okay, the scroll was weird. I'm running at a much, I guess, lower screen resolution today because I wanted to make the text a little bit bigger for like viewers. Actually, let me know if it's better today or if it's readable for you. And so I'm like kind of getting used to this week because the screen size is a lot smaller on my end this time. So I'm just kind of getting used to that. But anyway, yeah, so we have this emulator.make. I see. It's perfect. Awesome. Thanks. I can't see shit. Oh yeah, I just want to pull that up. That was kind of funny. I got some feedback from a viewer that which is why I've been looking into this. Here's my yeah. Can you imagine that I can't see shit? So glad y'all can see shit. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So a couple changes. Most of these are in the make file, which is in the build system. And yeah, this what we're looking at is a lot of changes to different things like all at once, and it's very messy. And so one of the changes is like I got annoyed at all of this this emulator stuff, and I wanted to bring it out into a separate file called emulator.make just to clean up the file and not make it so long. And then then this part of the diff is actually looking at the refactors, like the actual refactors, in order to make the build system build from the root. No, not from the root, from the build directory. Yeah. And then these changes are also related to that. As a consequence of moving, actually this is kind of interesting. Well, these changes are a consequence of moving the kernel source files into a different directory, which is technically a different change than moving the kernel object files into the build directory. Those two changes can happen independently of each other. It's possible to first move the kernel source files into a separate directory, but keep building everything in the root directory as it was. So those could technically be two commits, but I'm also still kind of refreshing on what exactly happened. So yeah, and then just some changes to this whole obj thing. And so yeah, yeah, I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit intimidated also because it is a lot of changes, and my memory isn't completely so fresh with it still, because I was like away for 3 weeks, got back last week. And so in usual fashion, I'm probably going to just start with something easy and straightforward, and then work to more difficult things from there. So yeah, again, just kind of trying to paint a little bit of a slice of life. Like this is it might seem like this is kind of a boring task, and like it kind of is, but I actually find it kind of interesting to really go to these, like, to understand the build system very well. It would be a valid point that is it even worth doing all of this intense refactoring of the makefile build system if we eventually want to move to something a bit more modern, like CMake, which does a lot of this stuff automatically, like the separate build tree. For the moment, I'm just kind of shelving that because am I right to think that build systems mess? That build systems are a mess in general, or this build system is definitely a mess. But that's this build system is definitely a mess because like I inherited it and I've been kind of hacking with it. But build systems don't have to be a mess. They can definitely be very clean and organized, but it takes a lot of discipline to do that. And that's actually the job of like the build engineer. Like there's specific roles at companies where it's not exactly software engineer, but it's like build engineer, and they're in charge of the build system. Because for large software projects, the build is so complex that you need a full-time engineer working on exactly this kind of stuff that I'm doing right now. I see. What is a makefile exactly? A makefile is a file that is part, or it's used with the GNU make utility, which the GNU make utility is a very, very common tool for making build systems. And if you've never heard of it before, the way I would explain it is it's kind of just a way to automate all of the commands you might run manually. If you're building software, you might be running your compiler and your linker and stuff like that. And ideally you want to script that all. So you might write a script to do it, like a bash script, but then the next evolution of that would be an actual build system with this make tool. Samir, in general, I would like to understand them better so I can get into low-level code bases, but it's so confusing. Yeah, I think build systems are worth learning and understanding because they are actually an essential part of every piece of major low-level software. You cannot have the software without building it, and it is actually, and if you understand the build system, you actually have a strong understanding of the software itself. And that's why we've been working on the build system for like 10 weeks now, or like 8 weeks now. Although I'm only working in 2-hour chunks, but this is a pretty complex code base since it's an OS. And just by starting out by understanding the build system, I've already built a much, much stronger of how the OS works than I would otherwise have if I was diving directly into like hacking on source files. which also would have been a valid approach, but I was just so annoyed at the fact that everything was in one directory and that there wasn't a separate builder. Glenford, you're asking, would it have been easier if you had just gone with CMake from the start? That's a great question. Yeah, probably. In this case, I actually did not start from scratch with this project. If we just scroll back into the Git history, I'm just hacking on this open source operating system that came from MIT. And so I didn't, there's no starting from scratch with here. I'm picking up where the previous developers left off. And so I have to kind of, take ownership of the project and inherit what they had, which is make files. If I were to do it from scratch, maybe I would have done CMake, although I might have also opted to just start with make files because they're also very simple and very straightforward to kind of get going with it. Okay, nice. So so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a backup of my branch of where I am now, because I kind of don't want to mess anything up. And so, yeah, adders backup. Okay, but now we're going to switch back here. So now, because we're going to be doing like rebasing and stuff like that, and so I kind of want to make sure I have a backup plan in case I mess things up. But now I'm back on my branch, and let's just take a look. So again, we have our whole massive diff, and the idea is to split this commit into smaller pieces. Okay, I just have one thing on the top of my mind that I kind of want to get rid of. I'm not quite sure if I should do that now, but I did this very strange thing last time because I thought it was kind of interesting or cute or something, where the object files are actually named like it's the full source file with a .o after it. Traditionally, you would just use bio.o. And I just thought it was, I don't know. I thought it was like, it was kind of cool to do it a bit differently, because then if you like look at a .o file, you can actually see if it came from a .c file or a .s file originally, because otherwise that information is lost. But I think that's kind of a detail, and I kind of don't really want to get into that right now. What I do want to do is continue with just this easy stuff, which is like this emulator.make remove chemocruft. Yeah, that was kind of the plan from last time. So there was a lot of like cruft I was getting rid of in the original make file that I wanted to get rid of in order to simplify things. So there was a lot of code around selecting the toolchain prefix, like the prefix for all like the compiler and the linker and stuff like that. And I don't actually care about any of this stuff. The previous developers cared about this because people were running this and building this OS on a lot of different environments, and they wanted to be flexible. But for me, I'm just working on my system right now. I don't actually care about that. And so I was just trying to simplify things. Same thing with the Quemu, stuff. There was just some stuff that I wanted to get rid of. We're just hard coding simple variables. And then a next obvious step forward is to now extract out the emulator.make. Yeah, that sounds doable. And what I want to see is, okay, so include emulator.make. And theoretically, this new file has purely just contents of that are deleted from the makefile and put into emulator.make. And I am just, okay, wait, so remove, okay, so we have the Quemu variable in the makefile for the moment, just to keep things working. But now in this next commit, we want to extract that. Yeah, let's just dive into it. So, okay. Dive into it. I need to know what I'm going to dive into. I'm going to, so I need to extract out parts of this commit. I want this stuff. I want this stuff in general. I think even up to here, what is a little detail is that this comment was actually deleted in the course of moving things away. It would be right here, but it is not. And just for the cleanliness of the refactor, I think I want to actually put it back in. Because I want to be keeping things as simple as possible, like commit by commit. And the most simple thing I can do is just move everything. But then if I'm like also deleting stuff in that same commit, it's a little bit complicated, or it is slightly more complicated than it would need to be for a reviewer. And so, okay, first line of code written of the day, adding back this comment. And that just feels good to me, because then it'll be a perfect code movement when we bring things over here. X-Q. Yes. Okay, so now that was easy. I'm just going to amend that into the big blob commit. Okay, so now we go back here, and now our thing is right here, and so now this is going to be, you know, pixel perfect diff, like code movement wise, I hope. And now, yeah, there's different ways I could go about doing this. I'm trying to rewrite this commit, and so I'm trying to extract out stuff. I could, so this tool I'm using is called LazyGit in the command line. It's amazing. It's very, very powerful. And I like using it a lot, but I also prefer the GUI sometimes. So I switch back and forth between the two. Yeah, Arbiter41, thanks so much for the nice comment. Glad you're here. Yeah, I love the term OS gardening too. I mean, personally, I'm not a huge gardener, although I do have a plant. I can bring that in. I do have a plant here, and yeah, so I do have a plant, but I'm not really a gardener. Also, we have the 20-second break. I'm going to stand up and just stretch. All right, we're back. Yeah, so I do have my plant. I'm not a gardener, but I liked the phrase because, yeah, it's a snake plant. I'm kind of a beginner with taking care of plants, and so I heard a snake plant was very easy to take care of. But yeah, I'm not an expert, and gardening just seemed to match what I'm doing, because I'm just kind of like having fun and like puttering around in my like little home area with my OS. So thank you. So back to this. Now that our break is over, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I rewrite history and clean things up. I'm going to reset the commit. And so we have this one huge, big blob, messy commit, which is on the tip of our branch. And I want to take that commit out of the history and move it back into the working tree or the staging tree. in this case, I want to do a mixed reset, which I believe is the default. Like I do a soft reset sometimes also, if for under certain circumstances, but a mixed reset is going to bring everything back into the working tree. And from there, I can go and selectively choose the things I want to bring into my next commit. And that's how we're going to separate these things out from each other, because they're all in this big blob, and I don't want that. And so now I'm switching back to fork, because I really like using a GUI for this kind of easy drag and drop capability. And this is what allows me to get pixel perfect commits with no stray new lines, nothing. I don't actually see too many people doing this technique. I mean, for me, I'm a huge fan of graphical Git programs for this reason, for the specific reason that you can do things like drag and, not drag and drop, but click and drag lines to edit your commit. And that's what I'm doing right here to prepare my pixel perfect diff. I think that's about it. So hopefully, I think that's about right. You can just take a look and kind of see that we removed this QEMU line, we removed this chunk, and we added this include emulator.make. And then emulator.make pretty much just has all the things we removed from that first file. And so it's super clean. And one thing we can do is, unstaged, staged changes. One thing I just thought of, git diff staged. Yeah, okay. Here's another little tip that I would recommend for you. I have my Git coloring configured in a certain way. Config zebra. Whoops. Zebra. It's like this dimmed zebra config. Okay, we're gonna quickly go into the Git options, because I think this is useful for people. At least I find it useful. You can configure Git differently to make it color the diff differently based off when code is only moved around. By default, it just looks like a big red block is removed and the big green or whatever block is like added. But if it's just code movement, those it's not really being deleted and added, it's just being moved. And so it's easier to see that if you enable the zebra mode or the dimmed zebra mode. So I would recommend checking that out. That's what I have here. And this lets us extremely clearly see exactly what the code movement is. And it's really great for readability and understanding exactly what is happening in the commit. And we can actually see that, yeah, I love the color scheme too. Thanks, this is just solarized light. It's a light color scheme because it's during the day now for me, so I don't love dark color schemes. So one thing that is interesting is that it marks this line as genuinely being added, but QEMU equals QEMU system i386, even though it is exactly the same. I think it just does that because yeah, this line is like kind of high in the file. If this line were lower, I think it would include it in the move detection. But actually, one thing that's kind of interesting, get diff staged. bringing up two panes. So what changed here? I'm just like manually diffing this with my eyes. Okay. So I've kind of like slightly caught not a bug, but something I wasn't intending to do exactly. But I don't think it's actually an issue. As part of the refactor that I did, I introduced some variables in the build. So I didn't have to hard code like this xv6.img file name everywhere. So that is what we're seeing here. And that's pretty cool. That really shows you the usefulness of the move detection, because if you were just to go back to, you know, your like normal Git client, that kind of thing does not stick out at all. It's extremely subtle that this line changed in the process of just extracting that file. But with this config, it stands out in relief. So that's cool. I think it doesn't matter. I think this should be totally fine. Because, yeah, the included, I believe the included makefile should still be able to access all of the variables from the parent scope. Thank you for subscribing. I kind of missed it. I was a bit slow to see it, but I heard someone subscribed. Thanks so much. So the next thing I do when I rewrite history like this is I want to test just my changes that I've staged and make sure that they still build and work. And I'm kind of hoping that I have my little helper tool stash unstaged. Yeah, I have this little helper tool. It's kind of stupid, but my goal is just to stash only the unstaged changes and leave all the staged changes, so I can kind of separate things out. Although wait a sec. I just realized this is broken. This is broken because with that image thing, okay, ideally we're creating a commit that only has these two files, but the part of the code that, or the diff, the change I made that introduces this image thing is only later in this make file. And so if we simulate, if we get rid of all of the unstaged changes to simulate this isolated commit, we're not going to have that variable defined, and that is going to actually break things. So now we need to do something about this. I'm going to take a drink of water. Yeah, so what we need to do is we need to actually just edit this file and put that file name back, I think. I think that's the most straightforward thing to do here, but actually I kind of do wonder about the scope thing. Like, can included makefiles reference variables that were declared in parent scopes? I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I kind of want to test it. And let's just do that now. While I'm doing that, one question I would ask to anyone watching right now, I'm actually very curious, like, about what kind of person comes and watches my streams. I would love to learn, like, what interests you have in systems programming, what experience you have, stuff like that, because then I can kind of keep that in mind, and maybe like say things that are useful to you, or skip things that aren't. So if you want to like comment that, that's super cool too. In the meantime, I'm going to go and what does this script even do? Cat bin stash. It's super simple. All it does is like do a commit stash, and then reset soft. Interesting. I think I copied that from Stack Overflow somewhere. Slash unstaged. Okay, so I just ran my script. Okay, I just ran my stash unstaged script, and it did what it said it would do. So now there's this stashed commit here. What is kind of interesting, okay, so none of these new kernel files got stashed because they're new files. That's okay. They're not going to get interpreted in any way, I think. So now I kind of isolated the changes. And now, yeah, let's just see how broken this is. So that's my expectation. That's my expectation, because I'm aware that I've kind of broken this img thing. So that's going to break actually trying to run the kernel in QEMU, but I should be able to do a clean. Still, I should be able to make the kernel. Please work. Hope this works. That works. Okay, cool. I should be able to build the kernel. And here's the thing that is going to break. I should not be able to run the kernel. Yep, that broke. QEMU error, raw block device must be blah, 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 blah. And you can literally see it, I think. What is it supposed to be? It's like file equals something. Yeah, you can literally see it. There is an empty string. File equals nothing, because img is not defined. So nice. So we've correctly like observed and anticipated and predicted the way this is going to fail. And now we can fix that. But before I do, I want to just do a tiny little experiment in order to just test test this whole like variable scope thing. And what I want to do is actually just, sorry, I had this like error thing, I think, or at some, there was some way, I can't remember, is it not here? There's some way to make a build fail with an error. I'm just going to quickly Google that. Let's like GNU make error message or something. Error. How to force an error. Okay, yeah. I am copying and pasting this from Stack Overflow. Error, blah, 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 blah. I guess I don't need quotes. Fail. What happens now? If I do make QEMU fail, good. So now my experiment is, can I access variables from a higher scope, like ulib? Oh. Does this work? Yes, it worked. Okay, so great. So now I've tested whether you can access variables from the higher scope or not, and you can. And so it will not eventually be a problem at all to use this img thing that is defined in the original makefile, because the variables are accessible. So, so that's great. It's great news. I'm just going to catch up on the chat. Samir, you compiled and booted a minimal busybox on QEMU RISC 564. Sick. That's awesome. I am extremely curious about RISC 5. I would love to learn about it. Yeah, I think it's an awesome project. Fun fact, so this OS that I'm working on right now, XV6, it's the one I'm working on right now is like the legacy version that was built for x86, but they've actually, the non-legacy version is actually based on RISC 5. And so it would be pretty sweet to eventually, like, I don't know, port this to RISC 5 later or something, or take those upstream changes from the actual one that's currently being used in MIT's OS class and bring them back into this project. Yeah, some crazy idea. Said here, undergrad pursuing CS, cool. Interested in RTL and FPGAs, nice. That's hardcore. Yeah, very powerful stuff with RTL and Verilog and stuff like that. Arbiter, you said you wrote POSIX find once and work on your own projects in your free time. That's awesome. Simulation, but working higher in the stack and a lot of Python code. Cool. Yeah, I used to do only Python development, but then I decided to kind of switch jobs and I wanted to work more on C++ and systems programming. But before that, I was just a Python developer. And you wrote a bootloader once years ago. It's very hardcore. That's super hardcore. I'm scared of that stuff, to be honest. Yeah, I find that stuff very intimidating. There is a bootloader in the OS, bootsm.s. I don't understand it, really. I mean, I could understand it if I like really tried, but a lot of these details are extremely esoteric about the A20 line thing is quite esoteric, as well as the global descriptor table and stuff like that. Oh wait, is this even? No, this is this the bootloader? I'm pretty sure it is. Start the first. Yeah. The kernel is not running at this point. The kernel runs later, right here, I think. Anyway, let's get back on track. And so what I've done is now I've implemented my change to actually make this work again. And we are going to encounter probably maybe a merge conflict later because of this, but this is not a very serious merge conflict and will be pretty easy to resolve. Pretty rudimentary bootloader, only has 512 bytes to work with. Yeah, for legacy BIOS booting. Okay, let's clean QEMU. Nice. Okay, and we're running again, which is great news. And that means I'm going to stage that and then 20-second break time. Okay, so this is good. We have, okay, now if we do another git diff staged, our diff is basically pixel perfect at this point. This thing is like a false positive. This should actually just be code movement, just like everything else. But now we have a pure code movement diff that doesn't have stuff changing at the same time. And it's verifiable. So even a reviewer of this code later could run their git diff command on this commit and verify that nothing got messed up in the code movement, because they can also enable zero mode and observe this too. And so that's that's going to kind of like an extreme level of maybe attention to the diff, but I think it's important. And if you ever work on projects like the Linux kernel, my understanding is that this is how they work too. This is the level of rigor that they work at. And so it's useful to be able to do this if you need to, or if you want to. So I am ready to make a commit, and I will do that in lazy git. I'm going to clean up these extra terminal things. Okay, yeah, I'm ready to make a commit. I like to do this in Vim because then I can get code completion for things I reference, like variables I change, because you can get the diff like embedded into this thing, and then the Vim code completion can be active. And so let's say I wanted to like talk about a variable like I don't know, blah Kimu, what was it, or like GDB, or like was it ops? Yeah. And so I like, it can be useful sometimes if you're trying to like reference specific function names or variable names or class names in your commit message. Rather than like typing it out or copy and pasting it, you can just directly use code completion inside Vim, which is pretty sick. But yeah, what's the commit message here? The commit message is just extract emulator.make. Extract emulator.make. Yeah, and I think nothing else really needs to be said here. Good. And then here's the part where we finally get to pop the stash. And we will probably get a conflict here, but I'm just going to do G, pop the stash. Okay, looks like we didn't actually get it. Looks like we did not actually get a conflict. Just oops, did not mean to do that. Okay, and I think the reason we did not actually get a conflict is because this, yeah. The code that we changed is only in this new file we added, which this commit knows nothing about anymore. And so there's actually no conflict. So that's actually really nice. GNU herd. Very interesting. I don't know too much about GNU herd. I know it's like a microkernel or something like that, and that apparently people are still working on it. But yeah, very interesting project. I recently was reading a cool book. Well, I've been reading this book called The Linux Programming Interface. Let me just get it. Yeah, Linux Programming Interface. Yeah, this book is awesome. It goes into a lot of detail, a bit of history too, which is pretty cool, and it talks a little bit about GNU herd and like the history of the Unixes and stuff like that. So yeah, they're working on it for 2 decades now. And speaking of working on something for 2 decades, I am working at a pace where very likely I might be working on this for 2 decades at this rate. That's fine. So now we, yeah. Okay, so now we made progress. We isolated one thing. Let's try to keep it moving, and actually get into a bit more of these details. Yeah. Oh yeah, there was that error thing. Yeah. Register transfer level. Well, I mean, yeah, like RTL is interesting. I think it's not quite the same thing as like processor registers, as far as I know. It's really referring to, I guess, like digital logic and stuff like that, like AND gates and OR gates and stuff like that. But you would probably know better than I do. I don't know too much about it. Okay, how do we move forward? Because a lot of stuff happened, and it's all kind of clumped together. Um, and it's actually a decent amount of work to extract all of this. And maybe I'm that motivated to actually do it, but yeah, it's not going to be that simple, I think. I mean, yeah, okay, like just to take a step back. Already I've done like a lot of what I kind of wanted to do. Originally there was like this whole like crazy branch with a lot of extra stuff, and I've isolated a bunch of the really irrelevant stuff, like the very irrelevant stuff, into these 5 commits. What remains now is it could be broken down more, and maybe we will do that. But and it would not be great, I think, to just ship this in like a really production software engineering environment all as like one blob, because it's like kind of like a big mess. But for the purposes of my gardening, I also want to be conscious of like if I'm having fun. And I don't know, like I think I still am, but it might be kind of a drag to really be plowing through this. Okay, I think one thing I can do is maybe take this obj thing. So I wanted to port it away. Yeah. Can I get my side-by-side diff to activate? Okay. I mean, one thing I wanted to do was, but my screen is so narrow. Yeah. Okay. My thought process was that here is like this list of object files, and one thing I wanted to do was express it in terms of a list of C files and assembly files, because I think like for me that's like a little bit more professional somehow, is that in your build system you list the source files, and then the build system takes care of like converting that into the object file names or whatever it needs. And so I could imagine that one isolated change is to just change this object files list to a list of source files. And then compute some make variables that basically produce this exact same list, so that the rest of the build system just like doesn't notice and just can just work with this new with like the variable I've computed from this original change. I'm not sure that was very coherent. Yeah, working on a PNG parser for way too long, and honestly it's becoming a drag from the interesting parts of the library I want to work on. Yeah, definitely understand that feeling. That's kind of the hard part with side projects. Although I think also the kind of nice thing with side projects is that you can do whatever you want, including pull in other people's like code if you don't want to write it yourself. Just like pull in other people's code. It's kind of what I am doing right now and what I might even plan to do in the future. It's like if I want to add PNG support to like this OS, I don't totally know if I want to write that myself. I know that I don't really. I'm not super excited about that idea. Yeah. So these are just some like very general variables that are related to the actual process of making the builder, and that is kind of conceptually separate. Yeah, so I'm just gonna like kind of sketch some stuff out. Yeah, I'm just gonna like kind of click and drag. So I'm gonna stage this hunk. I think this should be a fairly Actually, wait a second. I have this like awful feeling that I broke something, or okay, wait a second. So the relevant. Wait a second. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. This it staged more than I expected, so I don't want this. Yeah, this is just kind of the stuff I want. I don't really want that. Yeah. So this is something we could extract out into a separate commit. We have this big list of object files. We kind of don't want that. We kind of want it to be a separate list of source files, both assembly and C, because that actually mattered later on for some reason. And also just seemed kind of like a good practice. And so we could technically just do this, although we are beginning to enter a world of pain because this .gen thing is something I only added back in the rest of the makefile changes. In the pure, yeah. This is, that change is like .gen or something. It's like here, or yeah. This is the diff where I added that, and so I could that's a bug and fork. This thing sticks around. Yeah, so I would probably want to tweak that in the same way I did the last time, to bring it back to the original state that the code currently on the branch expects. I'm just gonna check Twitter real quick. Got some notifications. Yeah, got some likes. I gotta give a shout out to Hombre. I don't actually, never met them before, but they are awesome. They've been giving me a lot of support on Twitter recently, and I just want to give them a shout out. They are working on some really awesome fuzzing stuff these days. Yeah, they are working on some really awesome fuzzing stuff, which is very low level and very related to systems development. They have this super interesting project where they load like the box emulator into memory inside of like a Linux process, and then use that to fuzz entire like stacks of software, like a full Windows stack or something like that. So shout out to Ombre. Anyway, back to this. So this is looking feasible to me. One thing, okay, so this, these like, or specifically this line is not relevant yet. That only becomes relevant when we add the build dir. So we don't actually need that. I mean, there's this like kind of weird thing where, like ideally for the diff to be pixel perfect, all our new stuff would be right there, replacing the old one, and we can do that. I kind of want to do that. It might cause merge issues later, which are kind of annoying. So maybe we won't strive for complete perfection now. But Arbiter, okay, cool. Arbiter, thanks for joining. Catch you later. So maybe we won't strive for like absolute perfect diff perfection right now, but yeah, I think that might cause merge conflicts. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't actually know. Because so far, this stuff, and then the code that's like kind of following up after us only just adds some new stuff here. Although, it's kind of expecting to add these lines above this k-asm sources thing, and so if these lines suddenly are above here, it will conflict, I think, which is kind of annoying. But I don't think we're going to avoid conflicts really anyway. But I think for now, I still want to. If I can avoid a conflict, I think I want to avoid a conflict. So I'm just going to kind of keep them like this, but there are a few changes. So the first change is this gen thing. I need to change that. And then, so k objects computes, it's the actual list. K objects is actually basically the same thing as objects here. So this objects thing, that's only relevant when we move the kernel source files into the current directory, which we're not doing yet. So I actually don't need that either. And so actually this is kind of a nice little separated commit. I think this actually like works as a separate commit. So with that said, apparently it's time for a 20-second break because my like screen's dimming and the prompter is coming up. So 20 seconds to stand up and stretch. All right. And we're back. So far I've identified two things that need to happen. Number one, this .gen thing needs to be like kind of reverted. Number two, this k-objects thing needs to be renamed to be objects. Because if we do that, like the rest of the build system expects this thing to be called objects. And so if we change that, everything's going to break. But if we don't change that, then things are going to work very like seamlessly, maybe. And I'm just trying to think how I want to do this. So I have some options. I could just directly make the changes right now and then stage them in, which is kind of destructive. And then I can stash my unstaged. No, okay. I'm just gonna do it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is stash unstaged. And I think LazyGit actually has a way to do this now, but I haven't tried it, and I'm just so used to my little script that does it. Okay. Right. So what was it? It was like the gen s. Right. So this changes to vectors.s, and kObjects changes to objects. And with a bit of luck, this is going to work actually. Make clean. Make kernel. Oh shit. Entry. Okay, I missed something. Entry. No. What? No rule to make target entry.s. Oh no. This is okay, yeah, this is my I don't I think this is related to that cute thing I was talking about earlier, which I kind of regret doing now. I'm going to try to find the cute thing. Here is the commit that implemented the cute thing, which I regret. I think it's related. This rule is saying take all of these variables and do this kind of replacement. In places where there was like a thing.s, make it just the file name and then replace the extension with .o. I changed it because I thought it would be cool or something to just be like take the whole file name and then append a .o at the end. I don't completely know if that is going to fix it, but it's not hard to test. So I will try this. I wonder. I think that's right. That's how it used to look. All right. Make clean. Make kernel. So that worked a little bit more, but it's broken still. Multiple definition of start. Multiple definition of entry. This usually means I am duplicating my object files. Or I think so. Or, I mean, we can, I think, yeah. I'm duplicating my entry.o for some reason. Oh, yeah. Okay. Part of all of the refactoring work that I did, so previously, I don't know, maybe I can even find it. part of the original work, part of the, like the original state of this code, it like special cased entry, like we are looking at the original state of the code, which separately declared this objects thing, and then entry was for some reason separate. And then in my change, I've unified it to just make it like another kernel object file. And now it is appearing twice everywhere. And the straightforward thing I should do right now is delete it here, but I wanted to quickly see if I could find the place in my original dev branch where I did this, and we should be able to find it if we look at the diff of this kernel section. So this is how it looked like before, which is the state of my current code, and this is the state it's in after, which is like all noisy because of all these variables and stuff. But the key thing is that there is no longer this entry.o. There's the entry other, and that's here, but the entry.o has been merged into the build objects. So, yep, I think I'm just going to, okay, so I noticed I need to definitely delete them here. This kernel memfs thing is very annoying because it needs to be maintained, or else it's kind of a bug, like the build is kind of broken for this target, but I also don't really know what it is. But it also seems useful. I think I will eventually want to be using this, maybe, or something like that. So I did not really want to delete it. Memfs objects. It's just derived from the regular objects with one change. And so I think it's safe to say we should remove this too. So we can just and delete. And now make clean, make kernel, and it builds. Good. Our kernel builds, and we should even be able to run it, I think. Yep, we're running our kernel. So I'm excited about that. And that's a really nice checkpoint. Like I was kind of nervous about whether if it was possible to easily break that massive mess up further, but this was a very nice, clean thing we can do to get things building again. But I am a little bit wary because this wasn't completely simple to do. We made basically three types of changes. Get this back, remove the gen thing, revert the cute thing, and merge the entry.o into the objects. Yo, what up, Samir? You're back. Good to see you. Let me know if you would prefer me to call you Samir or Lizard. Yeah, so making a lot of progress. I'm going to take a quick moment to say, to just like do the YouTuber thing. If you like the stream so far, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed or left a comment on the video or liked the video or stuff like that. That would help me a lot. Would appreciate that a lot. So thanks a lot. Anyway. So we're pretty much guaranteed to run into merge conflicts later because of this, but I think that's fine. I'm just noticing that the spacing is a bit, there was like 2 spaces here, weirdly. So I'm going to clean that up. And I think that's fine. That's fine. All right, pixel perfect diff. Nice. So now I feel comfortable actually merging this, but I feel like I should be taking some notes somewhere. So I'm going to go over to the Miro and take some notes, because Lizard is more fun. All right, yeah, Lizard it is. Lizard it is. Okay. Because as we've been kind of doing this refactor, we are lightly accumulating a little bit of like merge conflict debt, as I'll call it. Cute thing .c.o.s.o that we'll need to resolve later, and .o into objects. And also, oops, we renamed k objects back to objects. And so these are all things that are causing our current branch of development to diverge slightly from the original messy branch I was doing, which is going to cause conflicts when we try to bring piece by piece of the original branch back into our current development branch. So, yeah. But anyway, with those notes taken, we can make another commit. And like this like bugs me a little bit, but it's kind of an OCD thing. And we can do another pass of cleaning that up later if we like are absolutely trying to be, OCD pixel perfect with our diffs. So to back here, time to make a commit. And what's the commit? The commit is separate. It's like, yeah. Use k asm sources and k c sources instead of objects. Yeah. Maybe a better commit message is like declare source file names instead of object file names. Yeah, this is more idiomatic. Nice. Okay. So this is going okay. I got to be honest, I was like a little bit nervous if I would just embarrass myself like crazy today like I normally do, but this is going a little bit more smoother than it has done in the past. So I'm feeling good. So now it's time to pop our stash and bring back all the rest of those changes. And now here's when we hit the merge conflicts like I was anticipating. And I kind of like, oh man, what is this? So like popped the, okay, whatever. The merge conflicts are in here. Yeah, I would recommend taking a look at it. For a long time I had heard of it, but I was like kind of skeptical about it. Because I was like, whatever, it's just like another Git client. I already have all these Git clients I like the GUI ones and whatever. But it is actually extremely fast. I kind of think of it as like the Vim of Git clients, because it's like totally keyboard based basically, and there's all these commands that are single keywords, but it's not just another client. It actually bakes in functionality that you can't do otherwise with the Git command line tool, at least in one step. You can do everything, of course, but it makes these convenience helpers that you can do things in one step that you can't do otherwise. Like directly amending a commit directly from like the staging area, basically. Like you take some you take like some code that's unstaged, you stage it, and then you directly amend it into a commit in one operation. Like usually you might have to like do a like a fix up commit and then squash the fix up commit or something like that. But you can do certain operations in one step. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of just wanted to get a sense of what the conflict is. Something here. Yeah, actually, this might be like kind of painful. So what's the conflict? So what we're looking at is the top one is like the state of my current development branch, which is the clean one, like the actually reviewable clean Git history. And then these two lower ones are from the messy branch. And yeah, the messy branch, meaning the big messy commit that I like staged, and then I'm trying to like pop back after making a bunch of changes. And let's see, I think it should not be too hard to resolve. So, all right, let's apply the classic technique, which is like start from the middle. It's like what changed from the middle to the top? What changed is that we removed this entry.o stuff. Then apply that to the bottom, which kind of doesn't make any sense because it already has that change applied. I think we just want to strictly take the newer one, actually. We have no interest really in taking any. Yeah, we just strictly want the newer one in this case. Save. What's next? Okay. I think it's a very similar thing. The difference is that we removed all this entry.o stuff. So the difference between the middle and the top is that we removed the entry.o stuff. We could like try to apply that to the bottom, but it already happened. So this is like a bit of an unusual conflict situation because of the way we're like rewriting the branch, I think. And with that, we don't have any more conflicts. So I was kind of waiting for this thing to update. Work. Yeah. Okay. So like, congratulations. I think we've officially resolved it. 20-second break and we'll get right back. All right. Cool. So we resolved the conflict, which means that things should work. So if we do the make clean, that works. Make kernel, that worked. That's kind of fast. Did that work? I'm pretty sure that worked. Make commit. Okay, and now this doesn't work, but I totally know why. So not panicking at all. The reason why is that this goes back to the change we made at the start of the stream. So now in order to like make the the history like minimal and nice and piece by piece, we needed to revert this slight change at that time. And now we need to bring that back in. Which is this, like this image, I think. All right, make Timu. Why? What? Is it hanging? I think I think I broke something. What the hell? One more time? That? No. Oh no. Did I actually break something? Serious? Okay, now I'm panicking. What is going on? Nothing should have changed. This is kind of... All right, this is bad. Okay, what happened? Quit. This is bad. I'm panicking. I don't understand why this is happening. Because that seemed like such a serious error. Like, oh my gosh, what? One more time. The kernel built suspiciously fast. I wonder, oh wait, I think I know. So, I mean, I don't know. The kernel like built too fast just now. I think something is wrong there. Yeah, like where? Okay, yeah. I think I kind of know what's wrong. I'm just going to put my thoughts down on paper. So, it's something to do with these things. It is something to do with these things. I think I need to pay more attention. The problem was introduced in that most recent merge resolution. So there are a bunch of issues. There are 4 specific changes we made that caused conflicts to happen, or caused, more generally, that caused a divergence of the branches to happen. Then, after making these 4 diverging changes, I tried to merge everything back together by popping the stash. This did 2 things. So first, it generated visible conflicts that I was alerted to. But the second set of things that happened was it silently broke things. And it didn't actually break the build even, which is interesting. It broke like runtime. It broke the runtime of the kernel, which I don't totally get. And like we have 30 minutes left. 25 minutes left. And so I'm going to try to figure this out in the next 25 minutes. But the lesson is that just because you successfully resolved all of the visible merge conflicts that like get like pushes and like angrily like alerts you of into like your code with like the equal signs and stuff, just because you do that doesn't mean your code's right. There can be silent problems that do not like appear in the conflict resolution, that can lead to like silent errors that pop up later, which is exactly what's happening. Okay, so I'm panicking a little bit less because I think I actually understand this now, but this is a good case study in just like, yeah, like actually rebasing can be kind of dangerous. and and you do kind of need to be careful as you go through a rebase that you don't like screw things up in the actual code that affects runtime correctness, which I've completely done because like my kernel doesn't boot anymore. And I thought I was just kind of cleaning things up in the history, but I've actually broken things. So I'm pretty confident that this will all be worth it in the end, because it'll be nicer to have the history like this. But this is one of the risks of kind of doing this. Like if we were happy with a messy history, we would just like wouldn't have this problem and we could move on. But the downsides of that approach are that that branch becomes unreviewable. The history becomes like unreadable. If you ever need to like look back in time and kind of understand how your code evolved into the state that it currently is, that big blob is just like a messy blob that is like impossible to understand, really. And so that's just a trade-off you make when you choose how to develop your software. You can either have the much more kind of loose approach where you don't care about the history, but with those trade-offs, or you can have a bit more rigorous approach, but it actually does slow you down and can sometimes introduce risk in certain ways. But I don't see that as a huge bad thing, because you should be testing your code and having automated tests and stuff like that. And so I don't actually see super serious risks of legitimate bugs being introduced by the rebase process or the rewriting process. But at the same time, I can totally imagine it being like happening in real life. And I think maybe, but definitely real world bugs have been produced in this way before. But anyway, I'm talking a lot. I'm gonna just get back to work. Hey Mustafa, nice to see you again. Yeah, thanks for joining. I am here every week at this time. So yeah, every week like clockwork. So I just so now we have 20 minutes left to fix this build, and I'm just gonna try to do it. And so I think I just need to really look carefully at this now. Okay, so I mean, one thing is immediately extremely suspicious, which is like there are no. Oh shit! What? I tried to open this this binary. Okay, the first obviously wrong thing is that there are no kernel object files anymore. I don't know what happened to them. They just don't exist anymore. And I sort of wished I actually had kept a little diff around of like these 4 changes I made before I like destructively pushed them into the staging tree. But at least I took a record of what they were. This GenS thing, the cute thing, emerging. Yeah, we don't have any kernel object. I don't understand how like the build happened if there are no kernel object files, but apparently that happened. Okay, objects. Yeah, this is right. This is the same genre of like problem that happened last time we like with this like emulator.make thing. The general pattern is that we made a change earlier on to make like the history work, and then we needed to revert that change to bring things back to like working condition later. And that is the exact same pattern that happened now. Like we need, I think this was a huge problem. I think this thing was named objects. Like we renamed the k objs to objs, and then that like didn't conflict on like the way back in when we like popped the stash, but that is a very serious bug because now yeah, I think because I don't know, that's just so obviously wrong. Is this because these new lines that have now been added depended on this k objects thing being there. Anyway, so that's one thing. I think this should be fine. The cute thing. Okay, for like, okay, just to be like extremely conservative and like just very like safe, I'm just going to revert all of the changes, and so I'm going to add the cute thing back in. Cute things back in, or like cute again, or whatever. The gen.s thing, we need to add this back. I think that's a huge problem. Yeah, we need to add this back. Then I think this like is automatically taken care of. So let's try make kernel. Okay, that looks better. Yeah, so I was like wondering why the kernel built so fast, and it's because it wasn't building anything. And make Kimu please work. All right. Whew. Very good. Very good. Yep. So we're back at our booting kernel. That was scary. I was not comfortable. I was like sweating a little bit, live on stream, breaking my kernel in ways I don't know how to fix. But good. So lesson learned there. I think, yeah. In general, like, I should have been more careful or more wary of doing those little tweaks. Like, right. I did all these little tweaks. And I anticipated that would come back to haunt me later, but I was expecting just merge conflicts everywhere. And I was expecting that if I just resolved them, then everything would work. But I wasn't careful enough. I wasn't concerned enough. And yeah, I wasn't actively keeping in mind that for everything, every little tweak I make here that diverges the histories, I need to make sure to undo that tweak when I later try to merge things. Otherwise, because if I undo that tweak when I later resolve everything, then that successfully merges the histories. But if I never revert the tweak or make sure it's resolved, then the divergence will still be there and the code will be broken. So I don't know if I'm doing the best job of explaining that, but it's just like a few of like the dangers of like actually trying to rewrite your history. And so now we're like better because like this stuff is actually working again. And it took 3 changes, and we can actually see it's like this gen, the cute thing, and the k objects. And we can go back to our notes. It was these 3 things. This is kind of different because it was automatically just like taken care of. But so now I'm just going to merge it all back together. Yeah, because okay, good. I'm just gonna call this messy commit. I'm probably going to immediately like reset that back, but just to take a break for a sec and like kind of check in on what even happened here. We originally had a messy commit that was much bigger than the current one, and we've extracted 2 things from it. And so now the big messy commit is smaller. It has it's not this monolithic thing, It's still kind of big, still kind of confusing, but it is not quite as big as it was. So previously, if you were my colleague and I hadn't done this work, basically I would be asking you to review this diff, which is like pretty big. You know, it's like already kind of messy. Now I'm asking you to provide to review these 3 commits, which is an easier task because there is separation here. So, yep. And in particular, yeah, so this was just, look, this is like a part that we were able to separate. And yeah, just like checking in on the time, it like takes kind of like a while to do this, you know, 2 hours just for 2 commits. But yeah, maybe that's not worth it for some teams. I can definitely see why. I mean, it slows things down, but it might be worth it for other teams. And also, I think it's kind of fun to do this kind of work. It feels like one of those kind of like chores you can kind of do a little bit mindlessly, like not totally mindlessly, like, but it's kind of just like cleaning things up around the house or like ironing or something like that. And it makes your home feel a bit nicer, makes your garden feel a bit nicer. And it also lets me practice my skills with Git and stuff like that, which I think is good. So I'm going to grab a quick water break. Okay, we have about 12 minutes left in the stream. And yeah, I don't know exactly if we'll have time for anything massive, but maybe there's something smaller we can do. Maybe this .gen.s thing is like a nice little cute thing we can pull out. Yeah, I think that's oh yeah, I need to I want to do a regular reset, mixed reset. Okay. So yeah, back here. So this is like a cute little thing. And what is relevant? So this, maybe I will slow down for 1 second to think if ordering matters here. So at a high level, we still have a lot of changes all happening at the same time that are kind of different. We have this like gen thing still, which was like just like that's one thing. Maybe I'll just take some notes. So we have the gen thing. We have moving the kernel into kern, and then moving the kernel object files into build. And then, but it's not just the kernel object files, so then moving the entry other xv6 to img at set, kind of these main kernel outputs into build. And I kind of clump these together because they can also happen incrementally, step by step, which is actually how I kind of did it originally. If we look at this, if we look at my original messy branch, 20-second break, all right. All right. If you look at the actual messy history when I was just like, had no idea what I was doing, I went incrementally And like, I mean, I wasn't writing good commit messages, which is kind of a problem, but it's stuff like initial out of tree build which is just the kernel, and then and then the init code, then we move that into the builder, and then we move the entry other into the builder. And so it's this incremental process of moving thing by thing into the builder, which, yeah, I don't know, we can try to recreate that. But anyway, I was talking about that because of like this thing. This thing is technically like 4 different things. It's like the entry other, it's init code, entry other, xv6 to img. There's like these boot block. Theoretically, we could do that even step by step and commit by commit. That would be like hyper reviewable, but we don't. We'll see if we get there. So for the moment though, but anyway, so there's like these like 3 categories of things, like this cluster over here, this cluster over here, this one over in the middle. Is there anything else? Like these changes are related to moving the source files. These changes, are like, yeah. I think the ordering does not matter too much. I think it will be fine if I do the cute little gen thing to close out the day. I think that should be pretty easy. What's relevant? So this is relevant. Yeah, don't love any of that stuff, but that, and then this, this is relevant, but we are now entering the same kind of pain that, okay, so now this is our 3rd time of doing this pattern where we like extract a little bit out, tweak it slightly to make it work, merge it back in, and then need to like possibly revert some of the tweaks, because this is like the isolated commit. So this gen thing, so this vectors.s is an assembly file that is related to interrupt support in the OS, and it's actually generated at build time by a Perl script, I think. And I just felt like being cute or something and calling it, .gen.s to signify that it is generated at build time. And I thought that would be like a cute, whatever, thing to do. Okay, it's bugging me that there's no blank line here. Gotta add that blank line. Okay. AS flags. And so the thing that is broken right now, epic. Thank you. Super epic. Yeah. Thing that's broken right now is like there's all these new variables I introduced as part of the effort to yeah. Okay, I'm gonna be smart this time. Oops, what happened? Okay. So stash unstaged, classic, stash unstaged. And the way I'm going to be smart this time is I'm going to actually keep a record of the tweak that I needed to make. So the tweak here is that I need, like, I don't want any of these variables. I want to recreate this exact structure. The only difference is that this thing should say gen.s instead of what it usually is. So I almost kind of want to revert this. I think it's enough to just copy and paste this like into my Miro, which is like a little bit janky, but whatever. Kind of make it like something. I don't know. Just get a screenshot. It's ultimate jank. This is just a bit of a yeah, keeping in mind what I even did. Technically this thing was a change that doesn't need to be there too. I think I'm just gonna drop that hunk, come back here, and vectors.s, gen.s. That's all. That's literally it. Okay, I think with that, oops, we should be good. So I believe we should be like working now. So let's try it. Clean, make kernel. Shit. No rule to make target gen.o. Okay. What? Damn. What am I missing? Gen.s.o. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Okay, I know why. So this hunk that I pulled in is using the cute thing that I kind of like I'm starting to hate because it gets in the way a lot. And back in this, at this version of the code, we don't have the cute thing yet because that comes in the messy commit. And so we need to do another tweak. I think this is just it. I think that's a tweak. Make clean. Nah, damn. Did I save it? Wait, no, what? Agenda.s. Which is .agenda.o. All right. This is not looking good. Vectors. Okay, asm source is right. Okay, I know I forgot something. I think this needs to be called gen.s. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Whew. Make Kimu. My heartbeat's racing. All right. We're working. Okay, so we had a bunch of changes. We needed to make, or no, that doesn't, yeah, that's part of the build. Whatever. Okay. I'm just gonna keep a record of this for next time because it's useful to have a record of all the tweaks you made because we will need to resolve these later when we try to merge everything back in, which maybe I will try to do right now. I mean, it is 6, but it kind of is not great to like leave everything in this state. So I'm gonna destructively push that in. Don't need this line. Pixel perfect diff. Need that and that and that. Okay, cool. Got commit and name vectors. Oh, generate name build generated vectors asm file.gen.s to, I don't know, to distinguish it as build generated. Okay. Yeah, this, okay, I guess, do we need that? I'm not sure if I need that. I kind of, yeah, the next step would be to, pop the stash or apply the stash and get things back working. I kind of want to do that. Like I don't really want to leave it like this because I have a lot of context built in my head right now. But I actually think I have a call to jump on though, so I think I need to leave. Yeah, I'm gonna call the stream here, and we'll pick up next time. Thanks a lot for joining, and like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks.